I'm so glad to be here today. It's so good to see you. And I love seeing all these chairs filled. Woo! Oh, and on this rainy day, when I was growing up in St. Louis, I loved rainy days because everything seemed a little calmer. I don't know why. I always wore a bright color to school. So I would be bright even if the skies were dark. There's an opportunity for us to rethink, relook, re-examine how we view the world. And I always love the question, are you willing? Are you willing to look through a new lens today and slightly change, perhaps, the way you experience life, what you look at in life, and perhaps the way you experience life? I recently returned from the World Parliament of Religions in Chicago. 6,000 people, every faith, color, dress, age you can imagine. This was at McCormick Center in Chicago on the riverfront. I don't know anyone's been there. Whoa, is that big? We don't quite have anything like that in Oregon that I know of. Huge convention center. Got to stay in the Hyatt, beautiful room, view of the Chicago skyline and the river. I'm telling you, it was wonderful. It was an experience of a lifetime, truly. And many of my good friends, Unity ministers from all over, were there. In fact, my besties. So I got to hang out with my besties from Detroit and all over the country, and we got to have meals together. The biggest thing was, in 2018, I had started an interfaith, intercultural connection team in Unity. And we were featured presenters. All right, come on. And we had a booth where hundreds and hundreds of people came by. Now, our theme was, here it is, I am you, and you are me. And I brought some bookmarks for you to take home today, because I want you to be reminded all the time. This occurred, I came across that saying when I first went to the Parliament of World Religions in 1993. I didn't see another Unity person there. I had heard about it. We had a small congregation in Lake Oswego. I stood up and talked about it on a Sunday morning, and someone came up to me and said, I'll buy your ticket, your airplane ticket. And after everyone had left in the whole building, this wonderful, I'll still remember her name, Laura, came up to me and said, I'll pay for your registration. I got to go. 1993. Thousands of people, once again, in Chicago at the Palmer House. Woo! I'd never been to anything like that. The first night, it was amazing. You could just feel the energy of all of these people who had traveled and saved money and did all these things to get to Chicago from South Africa, from Egypt, from Israel, everywhere on the planet, the Middle East. I met a mom friend years ago, and he was there from Portland, Oregon, a Muslim teacher. We were all there that were committed to interfaith and understanding of our oneness. The first night, they brought down the lights, total darkness, lights all on the stage, and here comes this little tiny woman. She was wrapped in a shawl and had a hat on her head. And she was a Mayan elder. And she said, I am you, and you are me. This is an ancient saying in the Mayan culture, and it'll be explained to you on the back of the bookmark. They use this greeting every time they meet on a trail on the mountain, in the village, in the city. I am you. All right, let's try. I am you, and you are me. Now, this reminds me of so many things. I had my teachings through my childhood, my experiences with interfaith friends in 1993 was about this big, and today it's this big. I had the opportunity to go to the World Parliament in Toronto, Canada, 4 years ago. Once again, met many of my friends from Unity, and there was a whole walkway from the hotel to the convention center. It was almost 2 blocks long, and on there was something very special. And I want to tell you about it. There was the golden rule as is stated in 12 different religions. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was a little girl and I was going to Sunday school, golden rule was ours. What, I don't know about you, but the golden rule was Christian. No one ever said that it might be possible that other people would think like that. And so, I have enrolled my friends here. They're still standing. And they are going to share with us from 12 different world religions the golden rule.
Buddhism. Treat not others in ways that you yourself would find hurtful.
Confucianism. One word which sums up the basis of all good conduct: loving kindness. Do not do to others what you do not want done to yourself.
Taoism. Regard your neighbor's gain as your own gain, and your neighbor's loss as your own loss.
Sikhism. I am a stranger to no one, and no one is a stranger to me. Indeed, I am a friend to all.
Christianity. In everything, do to others as you would have them do to you, for this is the law and the prophets.
Unitarianism. We affirm and promote respect for the interdependent web of all existence, of which we are a part.
Native spirituality. We are much alive as we keep the earth alive.
Jainism. One should treat all creatures in the world as one would like to be treated.
Judaism. What is hateful to you, do not do to your neighbor. This is the whole Torah. All the rest is commentary.
Islam. Not one of you truly believes until you wish for others what you wish for yourself.
Hinduism. This is the sum of duty. Do not do to others what would cause pain if done to you.
Baha'i faith. Lay not on any soul a load that you would not wish to be laid upon you, and desire not for anyone the things that you would not desire for yourself.
Thank you. Give them a round of applause. So the truth is, I am you, and you are me. There is no separation. At our core spiritual beliefs, they're the same. And somehow we created a delusional thought that we were separate. We pointed fingers. We shamed people. We said they weren't worthy. They weren't like us. And in truth, it's a delusion. So I have a quote from Albert Einstein. A human being is part of the whole, called by us the universe, a part limited in time and space. We experience our thoughts and feelings as something separate from most other people. It is a kind of optical delusion of our consciousness. Striving to free ourselves from this delusion is the one issue of true religion. the delusion that we are separate, that we are better. Ooh. We know more. We're kinder. We're smarter. Just breathe into that possibility. It's so freeing, actually. We don't have to be responsible for the whole world. We are here to participate. That's a whole different role. I am here to participate in the golden rule. I don't carry the illusion that it's all about me. Anyone ever thought it was all about you? Now, I asked my questions before, and nobody raises their hand, so I'm just asking. Anyone else have the delusion it's all about you? I won't say this too loud. Or you were married to someone that thought it was all about you? Or your child thought it was all about them? It's a delusion. And when we can free ourselves from that delusion, we come to the place of realizing that life is often about personal perceptions. Now, I read in Brene Brown's book, I love this woman, one of her latest books about how people, they've done all this research, love to sort. We love to sort. When I was growing up in my house, we always ate corn, canned corn as our vegetable. I'd go to a friend's house, they'd have canned peas. And I went, oh no, it's corn. It's not peas. Anyone ever experienced that you thought, as I said before, that you were right? Now, I also lived I told you before, in St. Louis. And in the area I lived, many of the children's fathers worked for the Ford factory or the Chevy factory. Now, those who drove Fords and dads worked at the Ford, they didn't talk to the kids whose dads drove Chevys. I mean, really. Now, this was the 1950s. This wasn't Toyota and Hyundai and blah, blah, blah. I don't know if those people are still talking. But that idea that we are right and wrong. This is actually about perception, personal perception. And we think that our personal perception, because of our experiences with corn and peas or Fords and Chevys, that our personal experiences should guide everyone else. So if you married a person who ate peas and you had corn, then what did you do? Well, hopefully it was green beans. So hopefully you found another way to be together. But a lot of us stood for corn or peas, I'm just saying. Ford or Chevy. Now, how do you decide where you're going to go on vacation? This is the mountain man. I love the beach. Where do you go?
Mountains on the beach.
Yeah. Good answer, Clay. So how do we love to sort. We like different things. We sort our clothes. We sort by language. We sort by the books we read. We sort by the kinds of food we eat. We only eat a certain kind of food. We only read a certain kind of, and we think that's the best. Well, it's the best for you. It's not the best for everyone else. So those are personal preferences. Anyone own up to saying you have personal? Now, if everybody doesn't raise your hand, we're in trouble. We all have personal preferences, and that's good. That's good. We're not all at the same Chinese restaurant. We're not all at the same Italian restaurant, and we're not all going to the beach, because I like to have a beach that isn't crowded. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. So how do we deal with this? And how do we apply this to community? How do we apply this to our family, to our work, to the many organizations we're involved in? And how do we find common ground? Now, as a minister, this is one of my favorite things to do, is to bring a group of people together and co-create common ground. Because we're all kind of standing in our position, and we all have our thoughts and ideas, and we're all right. Well, you might be occasionally, but it's me that's right. And so don't come in my territory, because that's how I think. So how do we then create community? Do we come to respect each other? Do we collaborate with each other? Are we here to be in harmony? How do we do that? That's big work. That's huge work. Because we are all different and the same. We're all unique individuals with unique experiences, unique viewpoints because of our schooling, the way we were raised, the jobs we've had, where we've lived, our socioeconomic place in the world, and we're the same. You know how they talk about two heart cells, that they come from different people? They put them next to each other, and within minutes, they're beating together. We can't not be the same. Now, what often happens, I'm going to go there, what often happens in a community, an organization, a school, a marriage, is we create polarities. Opposites. I'm right. And it causes division. It causes hurt. It causes blame and shame. Georgie and I, there she is. This happens in Unity churches all over. This happens in every kind of ministry and synagogue and a temple, because we're strong people and we're sure we're right. And maybe we are. Maybe we are. We're just not right for the other person. So the opportunity then to feel and test those polarities. We're not going to dissolve. Maybe soften those polarities. Willingness to listen to each other. This is called unity. This is called unity. Why do we gather? Why do we gather? Whew. I come to gatherings like this because I love the way that when we let our guard down, we are one spiritual being. When we are willing to step out of our little circle, my friend Kathy in Detroit, Michigan, used the example of a hula hoop last week. Are we willing to leave our hula hoop? These are our ideas, our thoughts, the kind of the choices we make in the world. And there's a whole big world out here. But no, we're in our little hula hoop. What is keeping us from communicating? What is keeping us from engaging with each other, listening to each other? And for me, my heart is in building new community here. How do we take the past as a stairway to building new community? How do we do that? Well, it's not by standing in our hula hoop. It's not by standing in my way of thinking. It's by listening to your way of thinking. I have a quote from Margaret Mead. Never doubt that a small group, anyone remember this quote? Yes. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, that's the only thing that can do it. We're part of the change of the world. How do we change the world? One heart at a time, by remembering I am you and you are me. Let's do it again. I am you and you are me. I have a few questions to ask you. This is a take-home homework. Am I much more comfortable feeling independent than interdependent? Mm-hmm. 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 I heard that answer. Do I live in a friendly universe or a scary universe? You remember that by Einstein? That was a question. You live in the world, whichever one you pick, you live in that world. If you live in a friendly universe, that's the world you live in. And if you pick a scary universe, that's the world you live in. Am I willing to start building a stairway to a new community here? Or it could be a bridge or a sidewalk or whatever object we want to co-create. Am I willing to co-create? That is the most fun thing you can ever do, is co-creation. You don't get all the credit. Good, because it comes out better. Because that person has an idea, that person knows someone who knows someone, that blah, 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 and there it goes. It's done quickly, easily, and effortlessly. That's my favorite word, effortlessly. Are we willing to become a community that gathers to examine and experience common ground? Am I part of a community? Are you part of a community that is willing to listen to someone who isn't congruent with me? Respect them. Honor them. Don't try to change their mind. Big work. It's big work. And we don't have to change our mind. This is what's scary to us, that we have to change. No one here has to give it all up. We're creating something new. We're creating something new. So I'm going to end with my favorite story. Some of you have heard it before. It's how Native Americans teach their children wisdom. They draw all the children, all ages, in a big circle, and they put an object in the middle. It could be could be a feather, could be a smoking pipe. It could be all kinds of things. Medicine pipe. It could be a medicine wheel. And they go around the circle, and every child says what they see. And every child sees something different because they're sitting on a different place in this circle. And that's good. That's strength. That's wisdom. And the children learn to listen to each other's wisdom and make decisions as a tribe. So that's what we are holding the energy for, that we can listen to each other, we can have our personal preferences, we can have our ideas, we can have fun, we can celebrate, and we can co-create something new. I think our world has changed. Would you agree? I think our world has changed. And what used to happen is there'd be a minister or a priest or a rabbi or somebody in charge. And they said what was right. Did you ever go to church like that? I did. And that's why we're at unity. Would you agree? That's why we're at unity. Because you might not agree with me. So we're in unity because we're here for a spiritual experience. We don't want to be told how to live our lives. We're here to ask questions. And that's my role, as far as I'm concerned, as a minister, is to ask really good questions and never answer them. And I do it pretty good. So as we move forward today, we go into the next part of the energy about building a new community. Are you willing? So close your eyes. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. In the name of all that is, we honor these religions that came to bless us today, these spiritual paths. We honor each person who walked through the door today and those that wanted to and weren't able to be with us. This is a moment in time, a precious moment, where we can experience common ground without words, without thoughts, just quiet. We give thanks for the peace and love in this room, the willingness to co-create and start fresh. And so it is. Amen. Amen. It is done. Thank you.